Welcome to another edition of Geek Boulevard Weekly. I'm your host Steve, and thanks for stopping by. If you like what you're watching, be sure to give the video a thumbs up, leave a comment down below on what you thought of this week's topics, and subscribe to the channel, tick the bell, and get notified when new videos drop. That being said, let's get into our game and movie news for this week. The Fallout streaming series has released some first look images at some of our characters, and the attention to detail is incredibly spot on. Vanity Fair had a whole exclusive article about the making of the show and its lead characters, as well as an interview with co-creator Jonathan Nolan, the same creator of Westworld, and yes, the brother of renowned filmmaker Christopher Nolan. There's great images of our lead Ella Purnell coming out of the vault in the classic blue and gold vault suit, as well as shots of Walton Goggins in some Western garb as the Ghoul. It looks like a very high budget commercial for a new Fallout game, which obviously won't happen for at least another 15 years or so. I'm probably exaggerating, but with Bethesda, that's not too far off the docket, I would say. Elder Scrolls 6 they still need to start working on, and they're also still doing updates for Starfield, so they have a full plate on their hands, so we probably won't even see Elder Scrolls 6 even until the next console generation. This is probably the closest we're going to get to a Fallout 5. The Fallout series is set to premiere on Prime Video on April 12th of 2024. CD Projekt Red has officially brought on about half of their staff for Project Polaris, otherwise known as The Witcher 4. As of October 31st, it was reported that almost 330 developers have been brought on to work on the surely massive next installment in the Witcher franchise upon the completion of Cyberpunk's expansion Phantom Liberty. Witcher 4 was announced as Polaris back in March of last year and confirmed that it had entered pre-production back in May of 2022, and we haven't really heard about any concrete updates since until now. CD Projekt Red CEO Adam Kaczynski said last October that the game is still at least 3 years out because not only are they creating a whole new game in this series, but they're also creating it with a whole new engine. I'm talking about Unreal Engine 5. The developers are going to need all the time they can to learn the ins and outs of the engine in order to really push this project into new heights. This project was announced in addition to a lot of other projects, such as a Cyberpunk sequel, as well as a Witcher 1 remake, which I believe is also going to be rebuilt with Unreal Engine 5, so that's going to be very interesting to see. I'm very much looking forward to playing The Witcher. I've never played The Witcher 3 because the fact that it's the third game in a franchise and there's a lot of lore that I've missed out on and haven't really had the opportunity to really check out. It'll be very exciting to see a Witcher 1 remake done in more modern tech, and that way I can actually get my hands on it and play it from the very beginning. CD Projekt Red is going to be quite busy for the next decade. Snyder fans have a little bit of hope on the horizon, however small, as the man himself, Zack Snyder, has gone on the record stating he'd be open to doing another DC project for Warner Brothers, and his choice is really not all that surprising. During an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Snyder talked about his compulsion with pottery, his upcoming Netflix film Rebel Moon, as well as his tenure at Warner Brothers and DC. As you all know, he started Warner Brothers' answer to the MCU with Man of Steel and followed up with Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which got mixed reviews upon its release, and finally released his magnum opus, if you will, of his 4-hour cut of Justice League, which is leaps and bounds better than the theatrical cut by a mile. The article goes on to state, Snyder says that chapter of his life is now closed and it would be difficult to coax him to reopen it. If his buddy Gunn called and invited him back to DC, he's referring to co-CEO of DC Studios James Gunn, he might consider doing a Dark Knight Returns adaptation, but only a true representation of the graphic novel. I, for one, am a fan of Snyder's visual method of storytelling, and I think his 4-hour cut of Justice League was the culmination of all of that. I would be over the moon if Snyder came back to do a Dark Knight Returns movie. I mean, Ben Affleck's Batman was the highlight for me in BVS. The warehouse scene alone shows how gritty and brutal Batman can be, and to see Snyder go full on into that R-rated territory with the character would be such a treat to see. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility as Gunn and Snyder worked together on the Dawn of the Dead remake. There's definitely a good working relationship there. fingers crossed we get an R-rated Snyder Batman movie. Bethesda is up to some really weird shit as of late. Players who have put in quite a bit of time into Bethesda's latest release, Starfield, have taken to Steam to post some negative reviews about the title. You know, things like the planets are empty, the gameplay isn't exciting, the story is a little generic, etc., etc. All the stuff you've been reading since the game launched. Well, Bethesda decided to take a little bit of time and respond to some of these negative reviews. Now, this inherently isn't really a bad thing because developers should always find ways to interact with their audience and take in that player feedback and learn to implement that feedback into making the game a better experience for players. But their responses are awkwardly written and appear to just be a copy and paste type of thing with some words being moved around here and there. Not only that, but Bethesda tries to justify the gameplay in a way that the reviewer is the one that is wrong for not liking the game or seeming downright crazy for even suggesting the term boring at all. A user on Steam used the term boring to describe the game in his review, and Bethesda customer support responded with, "Greetings. Thank you for taking the time to leave a review for Starfield. We're sorry that you do not like landing on different planets and are finding many of them empty. Some of Starfield's planets are meant to be empty by design, but that's not boring. When the astronauts went to the moon, there was nothing there. They certainly weren't bored." Well, no shit they weren't. If I were an astronaut in real life and landed on a totally empty planet outside of my own, I think I would be pretty fucking ecstatic. But that is the difference. This is just a video game. Having multiple planets procedurally generated in a video game with nothing on them but resources for farming is in itself quite boring. And to tell the reviewer that the game is in fact not boring and gaslighting them in the process is really not the way to go about taking in feedback for your game. It's a very weird thing that they're doing with these responses and kind of makes me feel that if they're going to be this heartless with naysayers, why bother doing these at all? Perhaps Bethesda maybe isn't as open to criticism and feedback as they should be. The goal is to take that feedback and make the game the best that they can possibly make it, and this is a very bad start on that path to trying to win players back. Marvel Studios has found a new writer for Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, according to Deadline. That new writer is none other than Michael Waldron. For those that don't know who Michael Waldron is, he was the showrunner for Loki Season 1 and also wrote Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. He is also tapped to write Avengers: Secret Wars as well. Previously, script duties were originally given to Jeff Loveness, the writer of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, but was let go from the project. I really enjoyed Season 1 of Loki quite a bit, but Multiverse of Madness, while better than the first Doctor Strange in my opinion, was easily one of the weaker films in Phase 4. While I am worried a little bit that a writer like Waldron might feel the pressures of writing two gigantic franchise films, I do like that Marvel Studios wants to keep these two films consistent when it comes to the script. It worked very well for Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, for example, who, yes, wrote Thor: The Dark World, a pretty mediocre Marvel film in Phase 2, but also wrote the incredibly successful Captain America trilogy, as well as both Avengers: Infinity War and Avengers: Endgame, and we know how those turned out. With that out of the way, the next order of business is to find a director that will be up to the task of handling both of these massive films, as recently Shang-Chi director Destin Daniel Cretton was originally hired to direct Kang Dynasty, but left the project to focus on the MCU Disney Plus series Wonder Man, as well as Shang-Chi 2. So here's hoping that lightning strikes twice with this recent move, because Marvel Studios needs a major win right now. Last but certainly not least is the news that Rockstar has officially confirmed that the first trailer for Grand Theft Auto 6 is set to drop this month, and in fact have confirmed the release date for said trailer. We're going to get our first glimpse at GTA 6 on Tuesday, December 5th at 9 a.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. This is huge news, and honestly, it's all people have been talking about all week. And rightly so. We've been without a GTA sequel since 2013. Multiple rumors and leaks have come out over the last few years of the size of the map, which is most likely confirmed to be a modern version of Vice City. The rumor of two playable protagonists pretty much being confirmed when leaked gameplay footage was posted online, the possibility of multiple locations being released over time as DLC, the list just goes on and on and on. Now, why has it taken so long for Rockstar to even come out and speak on GTA 6? Well, they're pretty much the most renowned developer in the business, and they're going to give us news when they feel that news is appropriate to give. GTA 5 is one of, if not the best selling game of all time, and that's not even including GTA Online, which is just generating buku bucks for the studio. I envision this new trailer though is not going to be a full-length trailer. Rockstar is most likely going to show maybe about a minute long or so of footage that's gonna, show the Vice City skyline, maybe some pedestrians walking around, homeless people in the street beating each other up, with a voiceover of one of the main characters with a 2025 release window. That's what I picture is going to happen, because they tend to do that a lot with their first trailers for their newest games. They did it with GTA 5, they did it with Red Dead Redemption 2, so I feel like they're going to go that same route here, just to really tease people and get people talking. They're not going to show too much, but they're going to show just enough to whet everyone's appetites and get people talking, get everyone excited. I mean, who isn't excited for the next GTA? That wraps up this week's edition of GB Weekly. What topic has you intrigued and excited? You can say GTA 6, it's okay. Thanks again for watching, guys. Stay tuned to the channel as I'm going to be making my next film review on Godzilla -1. I aim to see it this coming Monday, hopefully, so do not miss out. Until next time, folks, keep it classy and keep it geeky.